welcome to the channel, Bob's Sales, this time's next year. So as you know, I'm actually a physical toy collector, so I actually know the story of Oswald, the lucky rabbit, and I'm actually going to tell you it. So before we get into the drop details, the drop article on the VeVe app, let me get into the story. So let's start with the characters to the story. So the characters to this tale are Walt Disney, Uber Iwerk, Margaret J. Winkler of Winkler's Production. In her life, she also has a husband called Charles Mintz, and later on in the story you also get Walter Lance, which if you didn't know also created Woody the Woodpecker. So in the 1920s debuted the animated short Trolley Troubles, which is a 6-minute short which Walt Disney and Uber Iwerk worked on together. So between the two of them they come up with Oswald. The idea was at the time there was a lot of cartoon cats, including Felix the cat himself. So if possible they wanted to replicate that, but they wanted to avoid being a cat. At this time Charles Mintz had actually took over the company, Winkler's Pictures, and make a series of 26 shorts for Universal. After this the deal was struck with Walt Disney himself and Uber to make the series a short, which they both initially was really happy to do. So after the first initial shorts come out, the first series was done, Walt then decided to go on a trip and also thought at this point in the project they deserved better wages, better negotiations. But we'll get to that in a minute. So after so long, Mintz has already decided that he wants to replace Walt. At this point, Mintz had grown tired of Walt and all his demands and actually decided to go behind his back and actually hire a different producer to carry on the Oswald shorts without them both. Mintz even went as far as to steal half of the Disney staff at the time, which most of them did accept. So Walt's returned, expecting to get a better deal out of Mintz and the company, and he actually got the complete opposite. So Mintz actually sat him down and actually told him that if he wanted to carry on working, he'd actually get 20% less than they were already on. So Walt declined and actually left with whatever staff he had left. So Walt actually tried to make his own deal with Universal, and this actually did not work out. Mintz being Mintz has already been over to Universal, of course he had, and he's already got the contract signed. So not only was Walt's deal not going through, but the deal he initially intended to make with them fell through also. It even got worse. Universal even asked Mintz to take over from Walt as the director of the studio. So after this, Walt's pretty much left with no job, pretty much left with no rights over the character he created. And with all that being said and done, Walt vowed never to work for anyone again. Now Universal did actually get what they wanted. They actually used Oswald for around 200 short, with new producers in play. In fact, by the time Universal were done with Oswald, it wasn't even the same character. They started to colour his shorts, they even slimmed him down, and they actually made the sketch in itself less crude. At this point, Oswald's literally changed from what you can see now, and has actually started to look like the Easter Bunny at times. Oswald's also been released in a series of comics, and all of the comics look different to each other. So with all that being said, we all know Bob Iger is at this point. If you don't, you've been living under a rock. He became CEO and president of Disney in 2000s, where he learned about the Oswald and Mintz story, the whole betrayal. Now at this time, Universal have actually partnered with a big sports company, and quite frankly forgot they even had the rights. The worst thing about this whole situation is some of the shorts were archived and some of them were stolen or lost. To this day, there's hunters still looking for the missing 6 or 7 shorts that have not been located. So you know what you need to do, ladies and gentlemen? Check them attics, check them beds, check them cupboards, just in case you got the Holy Grail when you're at it. So I did promise you a longer video today, so that's definitely what you're going to get. So let's get into the Medium article. In celebration of 100 years of Disney, it's Oswald. This drop is actually going to be a blind box format, and it actually drops Friday the 27th of January. So this one's going to be the normal time, 8 AM PT or 4 PM UK time. So the first thing you notice about this drop is it's actually got the blue shorts on. As I've just explained, if you were closely listening, Universal actually made that decision. So the first collectible we've actually got is the animated version, and it's actually the rare variant. So the article actually shows the animation, but we've got no sound yet. As you can see by the animation, it's not overly exciting, it's just pretty much jumping up and down with his hands waving. Now for the rare variant, it's actually pretty surprising on the edition size. There's 4,927. Box price for all these collectibles is a normal 60 gems. Normal for Disney anyway. So the other weird thing about this drop is there's actually 2 secret rares. And not only is there 2 secret rares, but there's not actually no animation or sound with either of them. So the first secret rares, you ain't seen nothing yet. And I've got to say, it's not overly exciting. Now the editions are a bit better on this one. It's 938 editions. So as I just said, weirdly, we've got the second secret rare, which is actually the lucky side of the street. This one also has 927 editions. Now, a couple of thoughts on the drop itself. So the list price of 60 gems is personally a bit steep, and I have noticed with Disney, they tend to be firm on the 60 gem collectible drop price, which in this market isn't the best thing. Again, with Disney, we are used to having quite a few editions, especially when it comes to the Mickeys. But this being Oswald, they should have done this very limited. I think they should have done this max 2,000. I think there should have been 2 collectibles, not 3. And I also think both should have been animated. So a good comparable for this one would actually be the all on board Mickey. So the list price was the same, the editions is actually higher than the Oswald, and it actually sold out. Now there was an airdrop linked to this, so that could be why, but it just proves we can sell the editions out at this price. So I definitely think VeVe dropped the ball on this one. I would have preferred something like the Steamboat Mickey with the actual clip itself, but I know Oswald started to make appearances, and I do think they have further plans down the road for Oswald. He's also been included in all of their parks, and we also know that recently GaVinci has actually planned to do a collection with them. And let's face it, we do have GaVinci in the app, so that is definitely a possibility. So for me, I'm not really sure where I stand on this drop. I think I am going to go for at least 1. Now I do actually see the rare going under box price, even though this is the animated one, and that's just because their name tags alone and edition. I mean, I think it's come to a given at this point. If it's the uncommon, it's going for the least. If it's a rare, it does just about alright. Ultra rare varies, and obviously the secret rare always is the best, even if the animation is not on the secret rare. Now I think the best thing VeVe could do for this drop is to not make any more Oswald. I think the 1 in the 3 poses is already enough, and this character is one of the most important Disney characters there is, so I think this should be the only release of Oswald on the app. So as always, I've been your host, bobsales. This time next year, we will be millionaires. A peace.
This. Ain't nobody got time for that.